Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to Battlefield 6. Today, we're going to look at some gameplay that is actually before the January 20th title update. But I want to talk about the update just because a lot of people have questions and there's a lot of concerns going around with Battlefield 6 since the update. The biggest question being, is Battlefield 6 actually getting any better? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Not based on the patch notes, not based on any sort of Reddit posts, just simply based on how the game feels and how it plays. So a lot of Battlefield 6 players, or Battlefield players in general, are really concerned about the amount of players that have dropped off the game. And Battlefield 6, since launch, has lost about 80 to 90% of their players. I mean, at one point, it was at 600,000, 650,000 players, and now it's sitting under 100,000 players consistently. But for me, I look for a few core things that really make a game great. That being the gunfights and the hit registration for all the guns, the movement, whether it feels smooth or not, and same with the servers. Are the servers smooth? Are they laggy? Do I constantly have packet loss? Because that seems to be an issue, and it was an issue at launch. And the last one being, are the matches flowing properly? Which means, are the maps good? Are the maps, flowing properly? Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is actually the maps, because there's a huge debate on maps, whether they're good enough or whether they're not good enough. Or whether they're too small and chaotic, or whether they're not just big enough in general, don't have that Battlefield feel. For me personally, I like some of the maps. Some of the maps are really great, like this one, Eastwood, that you're watching right now. I think it's really great. But then you have some maps, like Siege of Cairo, that can be really good in some matches, and then really bad, which isn't good because you want maps to always feel fun every single time. But then you just have maps like Iberian Offensive, which pretty much every single time you play it is horrible. And there's just like constantly you're being dominated on one side. Someone is constantly dominating the other team, and there's pretty much no way around it, no matter what game mode it is. Alright, now that we've talked about the maps a little bit, and kind of just talked about them in general, I want to move on to the movement in this game, and the gunfights and hit registration, because that's always been a huge topic for Battlefield 6. So first off, the hit registration doesn't feel much different since the title update. It could just be me. I feel like I occasionally get an extra headshot, a headshot that maybe I wouldn't have gotten before the update, but you never know. It could just be a coincidence since, there's an update and now I'm feeling like something's a little bit different. I will say, on the other hand, that the movement feels much better. Maybe it's because servers are just feeling much better. There's not much lag. I'm not getting packet loss as much. And so it's just a constant, movement. And I feel good. And the game feels good and smooth, which helps make the game feel a lot more fun and a lot more playable. I will say, despite Battlefield 6 having all these problems and having so much debate between all these things, between the player base, I feel like since launch, the game has gotten better, and the developers are listening to the player base, which is a part of the reason why Season 2 was pushed back to February 20th. So now that we're only a couple weeks out from Season 2, things could get much better. There could be more updates. There could be more content dropped into the game right before Season 2, which would be huge, since players kind of feel like this game is getting a little bit repetitive and sometimes a little bit unfair. Because matches just don't go their way, maps don't flow great, like Iberian Offensive, like I said. So hopefully Season 2 can bring in more maps and fix a few problems that the game has been having. I know for a fact, and I'll put a picture up, that they are bringing in a map. I don't know if it's for Season 2 or at the launch of Season 2. I believe it's called Contaminated, and it looks super cool, and I think it's going to be a more Battlefield-sized map, a more Battlefield-like map. So that's going to be absolutely huge for the game, because that's been a huge issue for the players, is that the maps just feel really small and chaotic, and players don't think it feels like Battlefield, and it feels more like Call of Duty, which is where that comparison always comes from. And players want a Battlefield experience, not a Call of Duty experience. Now, with all this being said, these are all fixable issues that the developers can and probably will try to fix throughout Battlefield 6's lifespan. I think personally a lot of the problems are just with the servers, the way the maps feel and flow, and that's something that can be changed, or maps can be added in. So it's up to the developers to really go to work and make more content and fix all the issues that are there, especially the glaring ones, any sort of bugs or glitches. I think so far they've done a good job with fixing all the issues and listening to the player feedback, which is part of the reason why Season 2 has been pushed back and another title update was put out before Season 2 was released, which I think is fantastic, because it really shows that they're listening and they want to fix all the issues that players have with the game. Now, I will say, if I'm comparing Battlefield 6 now in January, heading into February before Season 2, compared to the launch Battlefield 6, the game feels much better. But that's just my personal opinion. I think the game looks great, it feels great. Majority of games, there's hardly any issues with the servers, and most of the time, even though it's lost a lot of its player base, you can get into games in just a couple of seconds, almost like no players have, left the game at all. And I think that's one of the things that people are really worried about, is the player count. But despite the game feeling good and feeling like it's getting better, the game does have a lot of very predictable layouts with the maps. The games, the matches always feel very predictable. You kind of know who's going to dominate whenever you load up a match, and that's something that kind of needs to be fixed. I don't know if it can be fixed, but I think it's something that should be looked at. The problem, that was a big problem with Breakthrough at the beginning of the game, at the launch of the game, that everyone was using glitches and getting to spots they weren't supposed to be able to. On maps like Siege of Cairo, they were getting on top of the buildings. On Manhattan Bridge, they were using the drones to get on top of the big bridges, and they had to fix all of that, which is great because they did, but it feels like it's constantly players are finding more and more ways to use glitches, bugs, or kind of break the game, and there still need some fixing in that area of the game. But this doesn't mean that players have any issue with the game. Lots of players really love Battlefield 6, as I do, and a lot of the player base are super loyal, which is a great thing and can keep the game alive, because everyone's saying Battlefield 6 is dead, Battlefield 6 needs to be saved, maybe Season 2 can save the game. But I don't think any of that needs to be said, because there's a huge amount of players in the player base that are super loyal to this game and want to continue playing and want to continue to see what the developers are going to bring out, what they're going to try and fix, because it's clear that the developers at DICE want this game to be successful. They want to fix all the issues. They're listening to the players, and it's such a great thing, so refreshing, because there's a lot of games and a lot of developers that just end up dying because developers don't listen to player feedback. So with all this being said, I just kind of want to wrap up all of my thoughts. Was Battlefield 6 perfect before the title update? Definitely not. Is it perfect after? Also, definitely not. But I think it has a great foundation, and it did before the title update. Battlefield 6 is a great game, and there's no reason to believe that it is dying just because players aren't really playing. There's a lot of games that people are going over to, like Arc Raiders, that excite people a little bit more. And when Season 2 comes out, I fully believe that players are going to come back and be excited about Battlefield 6 just like they were at the launch. So as long as the developers continue to fix all these glaring issues, any bugs, any glitches, and keep listening to the player base, I think we have a great foundation, and this game could just get even better. So obviously, the update was a huge step forward, in my opinion. But I'm not the one developing the game. I'm not some expert. I would love to know what everyone's opinion is as of now, after the January 20th update, and what you think Season 2 could do for this game. But that's all I have for you. So if you enjoyed my thoughts and you enjoyed the gameplay so far, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel.
Hostiles are engaging objective Delta.
Cheers! Thank you!
Hostiles are attacking objective Echo. Attention! We're engaging objective Charlie.
Come on! Break away!
Be advised, enemies are attacking Delta.